It is Tuesday, April 8th, and President Trump has just become the fastest executor of presidential action in at least the last 100 years, meaning he's doing more than almost any other president in history by far. We have the numbers we're going to show you, and we'll show you the media's reaction to this, something you'll want to see. Also, an update on Trump's tariff strategy. The global chessboard is in motion, and leaders from around the world starting to play. New details dropping this morning on China's response. China's screwed, folks. Trump's backed them so far into a corner, they only have a few options left, all of which benefit the United States. We're going to explain. And a major doge discovery, something big about to drop. We're going to show you, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. So Donald Trump's been back in the White House for 79 days. Today is day 79, and thus far, he's signed 111 executive orders, another 50 or so presidential directives. He sealed the southern border, begun rebalancing our country's trade deficit, balancing our budget, saved the taxpayer over $140 billion thus far in waste, fraud, and abuse, according to doge.gov, firing and rooting out large swaths of the swamp in Washington, D.C., shutting down the Department of Education, dismantling USAID, and so much more. We can't name it all. And the American people are realizing it. New polling out this morning showing Trump's job approval jumping again. Brand new polling capturing voter sentiment after Trump's tariff implementation last week, meaning after the market correction. And even with all the fear-mongering from the media and from the anti-Trumpers, the majority of this country approves, the large majority, the majority knowing he's doing the right thing. And look, often the right thing is the hard thing to do. Multiple new polls from different polling outlets showing Trump is more popular today than he was before his tariff rollout. Look at this. Americans deliver shock verdict on Trump's controversial new tariffs. President Donald Trump is more popular now than before he sent the global markets into a frenzy by enacting sweeping new tariffs. The poll found that Trump's approval rating rose to 53%, a 4-point increase over just last week when it was 49%. This poll from JL Partners, and it's not an anomaly. RMG research showing Trump as well had a 4+ point jump in approval since last week. And it gets even better. Look at this. We all know Republicans almost universally support Trump's policies. So in order for his approval rating to rise further than where it is, the support needs to come from Democrats and from independents. Look at where the change is coming from. It's up by 13 points since March 7th among those aged 18 to 29. Trump also saw a 6-point increase in favorability among Democrats and independents, according to the survey. His support among black voters skyrocketing 17 points since last week. And when it comes to Trump's universal 10% tariff on all goods coming in from other countries, more Americans supporting his tariff policy than are opposing it. This is huge. After all the hyperventilating from the establishment this week, from liberal media and from Dems losing their minds over the market correction, trying their hardest to gaslight us that Trump doesn't know what he's doing, they are failing. Even CNN now admitting that Trump is hands down the most effective and action-oriented president in at least the last 100 years, and that he's delivering on his promises. Roll the tape.
I think there was this concern among some folks that Donald Trump would come in for a second term and kind of be a lame duck. He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring eagle. What am I talking about here? Let's talk about Trump executive orders in 2025. He's already signed 111 so far. That is the most at this point in a presidency in at least 100 years. In fact, it's the most in any single year, and we're only in April, since Harry S. Truman in the early 1950s. The bottom line is, whether you like Trump or you don't like him, you can't say that he's come in and not try to deliver on what he at least believes was his promises on the campaign trail, and he's doing so in historic fashion.
How are people reacting to and feel about Trump's approach?
Yeah, okay. So Trump's approach here, what are we talking about? Trump's approach to presidential power. I think the American people recognize what he's doing here is completely different. We're talking, get this, 86% of the American public believes that Trump's approach to presidential power is completely different from past presidents, compared to only 14% who believe it is in line with precedent. And we're talking about at least 79% of Democrats, independents, and Republicans. So again, you can agree or you can disagree with Donald Trump, but what you can't disagree with is that he's doing things very differently. I have used the Frank Sinatra quote before. He is doing it, quote unquote, my way, and that is what Donald Trump has done throughout both of his presidential terms, and he's certainly doing that, Kate Baldwin, in term number 2.
So completely differently, clearly they agree, but take it a step further? Do the people think he's taken too much power? Yeah,
this I think is the real question, right? You can believe that he's doing stuff completely differently, but do you think that he has a little too much power or not? And this is interesting. So Trump's presidential power is too much, the right amount, too little. Well, 47% say too much, but then you get 36% who say the right amount. Then you get 17% who say too little. So you're essentially dealing with a majority of the American public, 53%, who do not say that Trump has too much power. They either says he has too little power or the right amount of power. So the idea, that argument that Donald Trump is, quote unquote, a king, that I don't think holds with the American people. It does hold maybe with 47%, but with the majority of folks, they believe Donald Trump's doing something completely differently, and they don't believe he has too much power, and the executive orders he signed certainly suggest he's no lame duck. He is, as I said at the beginning, a soaring eagle.
It is breaking through, his tariff messaging breaking through, which, to be honest, is a bit surprising. There's been a nonstop assault all week on it. It was all hands on deck this week to tank Trump's approval on tariffs, nonstop negative messaging. And keep in mind, Trump didn't have to do this. It would have been easy, so easy, the easiest thing in the world for him to just maintain the status quo, make minor modifications to our trade deficits, cut small deals with these other countries and not royal markets. He's doing something, though, that everyone knows is necessary, but no politician before him would have had the courage to do. Tomorrow, April 9th, Trump's reciprocal tariffs go into effect. 3 days ago on the 5th, Trump's 10% base tariff went into effect. The base tariff alone already generating around $1 billion a day. $980 million was collected on Monday alone from his 10% base tariff. Tomorrow at 12:01 a.m., his big reciprocal tariffs go into effect, which are expected to more than double the existing tariff revenues, estimated to total around $600 to $700 billion a year. That is more money, get this, than all federal income taxes collected on 90% of this country. If you take the income tax collected from every American earning less than $150K a year, which is around 90% of the country, if you add up all their federal income tax, it's less than what we're now collecting in tariff revenue. It's amazing. Trump's ultimate goal is to eliminate tax for the middle class. No tax for the middle class. Yesterday, for the first time, Trump reiterating this in clear language, that he wants to move the U.S. back to a tariff-based system from an income tax system. Watch.
We're setting a table, and we're going to have great trade, and we're going to have a very strong country. Our country is going to be at a level that has maybe never been, or maybe, our country was the strongest, believe it or not, from 1870 to 1913. You know why? It was all tariff-based. We had no income tax. Then in 1913, some genius came up with the idea of, let's charge the people of our country, not foreign countries that are ripping off our country. And the country was never that kind of wealth. We had so much wealth, we didn't know what to do with our money. We had meetings, we had committees, and these committees worked tirelessly to study one subject. We have so much money. What are we going to do with it? Who are we going to give it to?
Let me know in the comments if you agree with this. Realize the U.S. was the only country on the planet 100 years ago where it was illegal for the federal government to impose an income tax on its own people. Our Constitution didn't allow it. We were a free country back then. It stayed this way until Teddy Roosevelt corralled Congress to pass the 16th Amendment the worst amendment in the Constitution, granting the federal government the authority to tax its own citizens. In 1913, only 2% of U.S. households paid federal income tax. Look at this. How in the world did Democrats succeed at gaslighting us for so long that taxes are good? They brainwashed everyone. They actually run on raising taxes. Well, what do you think they're going to do when Trump proposes eliminating income tax for the bottom 90% of this country? When he proposes no tax for the middle class, not the 1%, but the 90% of earners in this country. In another story, Trump pulling the trigger, beginning 104% tariffs on all Chinese imports starting tomorrow, April 9th at midnight. Trump laid down a red line in the sand yesterday, the first time he's done so during his second term. China calling his bluff, so Trump executed. This is a big deal, folks. China releasing a statement overnight saying if the U.S. escalates its tariff measures, China will resolutely take countermeasures to safeguard its own rights and interests. The U.S. threat to escalate tariffs against China is a mistake on top of a mistake, which once again exposes the U.S.'s blackmailing nature. China will never accept this. If the U.S. insists on going its own way, China will fight it to the end. Trump responding this morning, writing on Truth Social, China also wants to make a deal badly, but they don't know how to get it started. We are waiting for their call. It will happen. Markets ripping higher after Trump posting that, but losing all momentum after the White House confirmed the 104% reciprocal tariff will go into effect at tomorrow midnight. Watch.
I'm curious, though, under what conditions at this point would President Trump talk to President Xi about tariffs?
Look, I just spoke to the president about this, and he believes that China wants to make a deal with the United States. He believes China has to make a deal with the United States. It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight. But the president believes that Xi and China want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get that started. And the president also wanted me to tell all of you that if China reaches out to make a deal, he'll be incredibly gracious, but he's going to do what's best for the American people.
This will be the highest effective tariff rate we've ever imposed, essentially icing China out completely. And nobody's reporting what this means. Trump has backed China so far into a corner, a tiny, tiny corner. Their currency now crashing against the dollar. The spread between China's onshore yuan versus their offshore yuan is at a max spread. It can't fall much further without something breaking, which means China has a decision to make. Zero Hedge saying they have three options. Number one, China has to concede defeat to whatever terms Trump demands. Number two, they'll have to devalue the yuan by 20 to 40%. Or number three, unleash the biggest fiscal stimulus in its history, between 2 to 3 trillion, which would push their debt to GDP off the chart. This is why Trump wrote over the weekend, China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do. And they say Trump doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, he just managed to back our number one adversary into an economic corner where they only have 3 terrible options to escape, all of which benefit the United States. In another story, Elon Musk and Doge have made a big discovery. The White House press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, announcing a major discovery has been made by Doge and will be announced by the president shortly. Watch this.
And then the president on Thursday told us that there was an incredible discovery that the Doge team had made. He called it horrible and incredible. Can you reveal that yet? Give us details on what it was about?
There has been a discovery. I hate to leave you hanging on a cliff, but I don't want to get ahead of the president on that. But I can confirm there has been a discovery. It's just not quite yet ready for release.
Now, what exactly is this discovery? Who does this discovery point to? How big are we talking? I don't know. I've heard some rumors, but again, they're just rumors that it may have to do with a very prominent former Democratic presidential candidate. I don't know. Is that true? I really have no idea, so we're going to have to wait to see. But what we do know is that I sure as hell wouldn't want to be a member of the swamp right now. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.